Hello everyone, welcome back to Story Behind the Story. I'm your host, Courtney Rowe, and today I'm joined by Andrew Wegley, who just did a story about the traditions of Family Weekend. Being a freshman, I know I was a little unsure of what Family Weekend really was. It's when your family comes, that's all I really knew. But after reading your story, I learned that it's actually centered around late coach Scott Bostwick. So would you like to elaborate on that, like what Family Weekend is really about and who Scott is?
Well, I think they always had Family Weekend, but they just kind of repurposed for the football team after 2011. So Scott Bostwick was set to be the head coach of Northwest football after Mel Churchman retired at the end of the 2010 season. So Scott Bostwick took over. He was named the head coach, and then in June of 2011, he died of a heart attack, somewhat tragically. He was only 49 years old. So then he had purchased black uniforms for the football team. They'd always wanted some, and he finally got it to go through, and he purchased those, but it was a secret. So then the coaching staff that took over for him, it was mostly the same guys that took over for him, decided that they were going to debut those black jerseys on Family Day and kind of honor him with that, with black jerseys and then a red helmet decal, because he always wore a red hat on the sideline. So then that's kind of just become the tradition that every Family Day they wear the red decal on the Bearcat helmets.
For sure. It was a very inspiring and touching story for me personally to read. And although a lot of us will have never had the chance to meet him personally, I think it's awesome that we are still continuing on his legacy through Family Weekend to this day. Right. And now I know you mentioned head coach Rich Wright got really emotional with this. He said that if it weren't for Bostwick, he wouldn't even be in Maryville right now. So I want to know, how was that in the interview, talking to him and seeing those raw emotions?
Right, at the press conference, I kind of knew going in that Family Weekend was a big deal to him because he talks about it every single year and he talks about how much Bostwick means. But I'd never heard the story personally because I've never been in. This is my first year covering the football team. Yeah. So I just asked him, what does Family Weekend mean to you? What does Scott Bostwick mean to you? And I asked him, particularly on that question, what did he mean to your career? And he said that without Bostwick, he would have never came back, because he was a graduate assistant here in the 90s, and he would have never came back in 2004. He was coaching up in the Quad City area in Iowa, and then he just there was an opening, and he knew Scott Bostwick very well, and they actually lived with Scott Bostwick for several months while his wife, who was pregnant at the time, stayed up in Iowa. And then, it's to say that he's the reason Rich Wright is here is very accurate, because without him, Rich Wright probably wouldn't be here and definitely wouldn't be the head coach of Northwest right now.
I think that's awesome that he's so, it's very obvious that he's very, very emotionally tied to this and to Bostwick. Now, I know that because he is continuing on this legacy, he has instructed the football players to not really focus on winning this weekend's game, but to focus more on why and who they're playing the game for and why they're doing it. So I want to know, for you personally, what is your why when it comes to journalism? What motivates you to keep putting out stories every week and cover these things?
I don't know. Ever since I was high school, I just kind of wanted to be a sports writer. I think writing about sports, I watched the Royals win the World Series and then kind of fall along with that in the Kansas City Star, and I just thought wow, that's a dope job. I can watch sports and write about it and get paid. So that's kind of what inspired me to get into it. And then once I've got here, it's kind of evolved, because I don't even necessarily think I want to write about sports in my career. I just really like telling people's stories. So just however I can do that is kind of what I like to do.
I can tell that it's something you're very passionate about. I know I always look forward to reading your stories each week. They are truly some of the most inspiring things I've ever read, and
thank you.
I can't wait to see where you go in the future with this.
Thanks.
To kind of close things off, I like to ask, what should we expect from you in regards to future stories?
We're just going to keep covering Northwest football as well as we can. Me and John Walker, who works for the Missourian and for KNWT, we're just going to keep, every time a story comes up, we're going to do our best to cover it, and we'll be at all the games. And but at some point this season, Northwest football won a national title in 1999 in a game that went into 4 overtimes. So you should see kind of a 20-year anniversary story out of me. But I can't divulge anything, mostly because I haven't started it. But
it's okay.
We'll see. I want to talk to Mel Churchman and some players on that team, but that's TBD right now. So.
I can't wait to see what you guys have coming. Thank you so much for talking with me about this.
Right. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys so much for watching Story Behind the Story. I'm Courtney Rowe. This is Andrew. Thank you for watching.